The quiet hum of the hospital's fluorescent lights and the soft beeping of monitors filled the air in room 304. 8-year-old Emily lay in the hospital bed, her frail body barely a shadow of the vibrant, bubbly girl she had once been. Diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia, Emily had been in and out of the hospital for months. Her parents, Sarah and Tom, stayed by her side every day, their hope dwindling as the treatments became less effective. Emily's room was adorned with cheerful drawings and stuffed animals, gifts from friends and family trying to lift her spirits. But nothing seemed to work. Her once bright eyes had lost their spark, and her energy was gone. The only thing that brought a faint smile to her lips was her love for Captain Jack Sparrow, the mischievous pirate from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. She had watched the films countless times, laughing at the character's antics and quoting his lines with a perfect imitation of his slurred swagger. One day, as Sarah sat beside Emily's bed, holding her small hand, the nurse walked in with a hesitant smile. "Mrs. Peterson," she began, "there's someone here to see Emily." Sarah frowned. "Someone to see her? Who?" The nurse's smile widened. "I think it's better if you see for yourself." Before Sarah could respond, the door opened, and in walked none other than Johnny Depp, fully dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow. His signature dreadlocks, tricorn hat, and eyeliner were all in place, and he carried himself with the exaggerated swagger of the beloved character. Emily's eyes widened as she gasped softly. "Ahoy there, lass," Johnny declared, his voice a perfect imitation of the swashbuckling pirate. "I heard there's a mighty fine sailor in need of a bit of cheer." Emily's face lit up for the first time in weeks. "Captain Jack?" she whispered, her voice weak but filled with awe. Johnny stepped closer, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "Aye, it be me, Captain Jack Sparrow, at your service." He leaned in conspiratorially. "Now don't go telling anyone, but I may have borrowed a ship to get here. The crew doesn't know I'm gone." Emily giggled softly, her small frame shaking with the effort. "You stole a ship?" Johnny grinned. "Borrowed? There's a difference, love. Borrowing means I fully intend to give it back. Eventually." Emily's parents exchanged glances, their disbelief giving way to gratitude as they saw the joy on their daughter's face. Sarah wiped a tear from her cheek as Tom whispered, "This is incredible." Johnny turned to them briefly, breaking character just enough to offer a kind smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you both," he said softly before slipping back into his pirate persona. "Now then, lass, what's a brave sailor like you doing in a place like this? Surely there are adventures to be had." Emily's smile faltered slightly. I'm sick, Captain Jack. The doctors say I might not get better." Johnny's expression softened, though he didn't break character. "Ah, but doctors aren't always right, are they? They said I'd never find the fountain of youth, and yet here I am, looking younger every day." Emily giggled again, her spirits lifting. "You're silly. That, my dear, is the greatest compliment a pirate can receive," Johnny replied with a dramatic bow. For the next hour, Johnny stayed with Emily, telling stories of his daring adventures on the high seas, and even teaching her how to say savvy, like a proper pirate. He pulled out a treasure map he had brought with him, showing her the route to hidden riches. Emily's laughter echoed through the room, a sound that brought tears to her parents' eyes. "Captain Jack," Emily asked shyly, "have you ever been scared?" Johnny paused, his expression thoughtful. "A wise pirate once told me that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do what needs to be done, even when you are scared." Emily nodded solemnly. "I think I'm brave sometimes, but it's hard." Johnny leaned closer, his voice gentle. "You're the bravest sailor I've ever met, love. And trust me, I've met quite a few. Bravery like yours? It's what legends are made of." Emily's parents exchanged another glance, their hearts swelling as they saw the light returning to their daughter's eyes. Tom spoke up hesitantly. "Captain Sparrow, would you mind staying for a little longer? I think Emily hasn't laughed this much in months." Johnny tipped his hat. "Aye, I'd be honored, but only if the lass agrees to join me, crew. We're always looking for brave sailors." Emily beamed. "I'll join." Johnny grinned. "That's the spirit. Now every crew member needs a proper name. What shall we call you?" Emily thought for a moment. How about Captain Emily? Johnny feigned surprise. Captain Emily? Well, it seems I've been outranked. But no mutinies, okay? We need to keep a quiet ship. Emily laughed, her voice ringing clear and bright. No mutinies. I promise. As the visit came to an end, Johnny reached into his coat and pulled out a small, ornate compass. It looked just like the one Captain Jack used in the movies. He placed it in Emily's hand. This here is a magic compass, he said. It doesn't point north, it points to the thing your heart desires most. Keep it with you and it'll guide you, savvy? Emily clutched the compass tightly, her eyes shining with wonder. Thank you, Captain Jack. Johnny stood, giving her a theatrical bow. The pleasure was all mine, lass. Now keep an eye out for any rogue pirates, and remember you're part of my crew now. As he turned to leave, Emily called out, Will you come back? Johnny looked over his shoulder, his grin mischievous. Count on it. After Johnny left, the room seemed brighter, filled with the lingering warmth of his visit. Emily talked nonstop about Captain Jack, showing her compass to every nurse and doctor who came in. Her energy, though still limited, seemed to return in small bursts. Sarah and Tom marveled at the transformation. Do you think he knows what he did for her? Sarah asked quietly as she watched Emily sleep that night, the compass still clutched in her hand. Tom nodded. I think he knows exactly what he did. Word of Johnny's visit spread quickly, first among the hospital staff and then through social media as nurses and doctors shared the story. People were moved by the actor's gesture, praising his kindness and humility. But for Johnny, it wasn't about the attention. It was about bringing a smile to a little girl who needed it most. Over the following weeks, Emily's condition began to stabilize. The doctors were cautious but hopeful, noting how her renewed optimism seemed to make a difference in her recovery. She carried the compass with her everywhere, telling everyone who would listen about her adventure with Captain Jack Sparrow. One day, a package arrived at the hospital addressed to Emily. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small treasure chest filled with gold foil-wrapped chocolates, a stuffed parrot, and a signed photo of Johnny as Captain Jack. The letter read, Dear Emily, I hope this treasure finds you well. Every great sailor deserves a reward for their bravery. Keep being the incredible person you are, and remember the compass will always point you in the right direction. Your friend Captain Jack Sparrow, aka Johnny Depp. Emily beamed as she read the letter aloud, her joy contagious. He remembered me, she exclaimed. Sarah wiped away tears, her heart full. Of course he did, sweetheart. How could anyone forget you? Months later, Emily returned home, her health gradually improving. She kept the compass on her nightstand, a constant reminder of the day Captain Jack Sparrow sailed into her life. And though her journey was far from over, she faced it with the courage and determination of a true pirate. For Johnny, the memory of Emily stayed with him, a testament to the power of kindness and connection. He often thought of the brave little girl with the big heart, knowing that in a world filled with storms, sometimes all it took was one small act of compassion to change someone's course forever. Johnny is known as someone who loves to make children smile and happy, so this was a heartbreaking experience for him. But he knew that it would mean the world for little Emily. For her, it was Johnny who would be the person you would love to see. Not necessarily as a last wish, but let's say someone from your bucket list. Let us know in the comments below.